whatever you have nearby. Um, hope you're doing well. I really do. I hope you're doing well. So this is the third episode of Don't Know What to Talk About. Let's Talk Wrestling, and I am your host, Celeste. Um, we have a pretty decent amount of things to talk about today. Um, I won't really be long on any of them. We're kind of gonna touch briefly, um, because we're just coming off of I guess you could say PLE. Not really. I don't really count it as a PLE. And for those of you who don't know what PLE means, it's premium live event. If I haven't expressed that in previous episodes, but Saturday Night Main Event is the first thing I want to talk about in regards to the current landscape of what is going on in professional wrestling right now. So Saturday Night Main Event was this past Saturday, and I must say it was a fairly interesting show. I mean, I'm not gonna go as far as to say it was one of those shows that you'll remember probably 10 to 15 years from now, because if I'm being honest, as a wrestling fan, you probably won't. But there were some results on the show that felt required to happen. That me as well as other wrestling fans felt needed to happen, or had to happen, I should say. Um, so first of all, the rundown for the card was generally 4 matches, right? 2 hour show, 4 matches. The first match was Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. The winner of that match came out as Cody Rhodes. Now, the way he won was kind of strange to me, because it was giving heel tactics. And for those of you who don't know what a heel is a bad guy in simple terms, just like a baby face would be a good guy. So he won in such a heelish way that it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of strange, because who Cody Rhodes is as a champion, as WWE champion at that, he doesn't usually win like that. He doesn't use these underhanded tactics. So it's kind of making me feel like that they could possibly turn him into a bad guy. Now, I know there have been reports and things out there that have basically said, oh, Cody's not going to be, not ever going to turn heel or whatever, which I don't really believe, especially now, because when you're pulling underhanded tactics like that out of the book, hitting people with titles and winning like that, then I'm supposed to be convinced that you're not turning heel, right? I'm supposed to be convinced of that, but I'm not. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I kind of thought Drew was going to win, because Drew McIntyre was his opponent. I kind of thought Drew was going to win and we were going to have a new WWE champion, but hey, as far as that, I don't really know what they're doing there, because it's like, I'm not gonna say it's boring, guys, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And it kind of makes me feel sad for Drew McIntyre fans, because he's been against Cody Rhodes maybe 2 to 3 times, and he's lost all 3 of those championship matches with him. So honestly, Drew fans can't catch a break, I fear. But he's not the only fan base in wrestling that can't seem to catch a break, because LA Knight is another one, but he wasn't even on this Saturday Night Main Event card. So that was the first match. Cody Rhodes retained his championship. Second match was Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton was a very, very good match. Um, I liked how dominant Jade was throughout the match, because she should have been being dominant with all her matches with Tiffany, because Tiffany and Jade have had a series of matches, and Jade has lost every single championship match. And it's like, this was her fourth time going up against Tiffany. And I was like, going into this, I was like, there's no way she loses. There's no way. And thank goodness she didn't, because if y'all had her go against this woman for a fourth time and have her lose, oh, the internet as well as myself would have been rapid. And that's just me being real. Because I don't, this is not me to slander Tiffany or anything. I don't understand how she's really been champion for 300 something days or however long it's been. But I don't even understand how they let her hold the championship that long, if I'm being honest. Because I thought she would have been lost by now. Um, At least so I thought. But we have a new WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown, and her name is Jade Cargill. First, fun fact, first Jamaican to ever win a WWE Championship, by the way. Woman, right? So that's an accomplishment. That's a great milestone. So I love that for her. When I tell you I almost wanted to cry, I was just so happy. And the belt, she looks so good with it. It's like she was made for it. She was made for that belt. Um, but bottom line, Jade won the championship. Tiffany lost. Very much glad we have a new champion. Maybe that can that won't necessarily fix the problem that SmackDown has right now, because what the problem that SmackDown essentially has as far as its women is concerned, because for weeks and for months they had cycled the same women in the main WWE women's title picture. And that was between Jade Cargill, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and that's really it. They cycled those same three women. And you still have those same three women on the roster now, but maybe Tiffany takes a break or whatever, because apparently she has an injury. Maybe she'll take time off for that and she'll be back whenever. Um, so there's that. But the problem on SmackDown is they simply need a draft. And if you guys don't know what a draft is in professional, it's kind of like football. You know how they have NFL drafts for football? It's kind of like that, except they do it in wrestling terms. And this wrestler will be drafted to that brand, or this wrestler will be drafted to that brand, because there are only two brands. Well, really three, but the main ones, the main roster brands, you have Raw and SmackDown. So either a superstar could get drafted to Raw or drafted to SmackDown. So that's basically all that is. Aside from that, like I said, I don't really think that fixes the problem on SmackDown, because if you have Jade as champion now, which you do, you're still gonna be cycling the same women. So it's like, this woman is champion now. Who's gonna step up to Jade Cargill, let alone knock her down? Because the only person I can see knocking her down, and she's not there right now because unfortunately she has a pinky in three. She has a pinky broken in three places, and it's been out ever since April. Now that's 6 going on 7 months now, and she hasn't been back in a WWE ring since. And her name is Bianca Belair. That is the only person I can see knocking Jade Cargill down to defeat her to become the next WWE Women's Champion. Now, I don't want to knock Jade off too soon. I don't want to do that. I want her to enjoy her time as champion. I want her to get presented as this dominant figure she so rightfully deserves to be, because she's a bad girl now. Heel. And it's like, I want to see what she can do with this run as champion. So I'm very interested in that. But more so interested in who is it that's going to step up to Jade Cargill. Next match on the card was a triple threat between Rusev, Dominic Mysterio, and Penta. This match was really fun. I enjoyed it through and through. I must say, Dominic Mysterio, who is Intercontinental Champion at the moment, retained his title. He's been Intercontinental Champion since April, and that was when he won it at Mania. So through and through, overall, I thought it was a really fun match, and I loved it through and through. I have no complaints about it at all. However, I am interested to see who really will actually take this Intercontinental Championship off Dom. But this is gonna get me to my next point within a second when I bring him up again. So overall, I really enjoyed that match through and through. No complaints about it. It was fun. It was entertaining. So, and last but not least, the main event: Jey Uso versus CM Punk for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. Now, there was no World Heavyweight Champion, simply due to the fact that the champion before, Seth Rollins, he got injured, so the title had then become vacated, and now you have these two men fighting over a vacated title, and CM Punk ended up winning. And I love that, because he should have been World Heavyweight Champion sooner. I feel like it probably would have happened as soon as last year's WrestleMania if Punk hadn't ended up injured. which was unfortunate. So we probably would have got Punk as world heavyweight champion sooner, but injuries happen in wrestling a lot of the time, and sometimes we have to postpone things and we have to move things around, and it happens in life. I hate that Seth is still out right now because as far as the update that we got on him, um, himself, he'll be out reportedly for 6 months. So that'll be really until April. Now, WrestleMania is in April. Now, whether he's going to be back before WrestleMania, I highly doubt it, but I won't say it's not possible to happen. So they could have him show maybe a few months in advance, and then he'll be fully free to wrestle by WrestleMania. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm just talking. Um, but overall, I thought this one thing I will say, I thought the match in general was very slow. I think I got into it, but maybe at the same time not, because sometimes I have to force myself to really kind of get into matches when I'm not like when I'm not really getting the feel of it. I feel like I can tell, of course, with myself, and it's just like you have to kind of force yourself to get into it. I don't really know how to explain that aspect of it, but I don't know. I feel like I just shouldn't have been, well, not shouldn't have, but I feel like I wasn't as excited about the match when I was excited about it before. Like my nerves were through the roof the whole time before the main event because I didn't know what was going to happen. Because main events just give you that adrenaline rush. I don't know what it is, but it just gives you, it gets you nervous. Like it gets your heart racing. At least for me, it does. It gets your heart racing, your adrenaline pumping. But man, when the main event is finally here and it's actually happening, oh my goodness. Now, it's not like this with all main events in wrestling, but I guess that depends on who's going against who. Um, and if it's a match that wrestling fans have actually wanted to see, but I don't really think anyone going into this was as excited about it because they kind of had one segment on Raw and it wasn't really even a back and forth leading up to this. And I don't know, there wasn't much there. So, um, like I said, the match was slow. I don't, the match was very slow, but it kind of picked up towards the end, which I love that. And then we had multiple kickouts, and we probably had a mini finisher spam where basically Punk used a spear, which is something that Jay does, and then Jay did a go to sleep, which is Punk's finishing move, go to sleep. But bottom line, Punk ended up winning, and I want to point this out too because it kind of got me emotional tonight. When I went on X, because I'm an X person, wake up every morning. That's literally the first app I go to. Look, I know, but when I went on X that night, I feel like I saw more Jey Uso hate than with Punk actually winning the title, and it made me emotional because I just want to point this out. Wrestling are human beings too. They have lives, they have personal lives, they have emotions, and they are humans just like us. And the way people treat Jay, it's just so disgusting to me because I understand criticism, okay? I understand it. You want to see Jay improve and all these other things in the ring, whether that be mic skills. Because I personally have never had a problem with this in the ring work, nor his mic skills, but everybody else has seemed to. But then again, I'm not everybody else. But I just wanted to point out that within this case, mental health is very important. And then people are quick to say age has something to do with it. Yes, the man is 40 years old, but that does not exchange the fact that mental health still exists. Emotions still exist. I don't care what age you are. You could be pushing 40, 50, 60, 70. Mental health will always exist. Always. So I just wanted to make that clear. Jey Uso is a human being too. And the fact that people criticize him, like, look, back to the criticizing thing. I get criticizing. I get it. I truly do. But it's a certain way you need to do it without having to just completely dog on the person. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to do all that unnecessary, just putting him down type stuff. You don't have to do all that. You know, it's a certain way you say criticism. It's how you say it, though, to me. You don't you don't just completely dogpile on the person and this, that, and the third, and say how bad they are and da da da. Nice. And that's another thing people gotta understand. You may feel like it may not affect him as much, but it does. And Jay stays quiet about it a lot of the time. He doesn't really say anything. I know he lurks on the internet occasionally, chronically, whatever you want to call it. But he's on the internet and he sees the stuff people are saying about him. So he's very aware. But I feel like he uses that to only fuel him each and every single time. It's not like he's going to stop what he's doing on the account of anybody else and how different they feel about him, because it's mainly the online people that are doing this. Now, aside from the online people and the people who are physically and actually in those crowds eating with him every single week, it doesn't matter. The online people, they don't matter. And I can understand why, because as far as the perception of the people what they have about him online compared to what those crowds do with him every week, which is eat with him every week. So on the internet goes, you don't matter. It's just as simple as that. He's still making merch sales. Kids love him and all this other stuff. But it's just the internet just seems to just take things and they just see, this is a con about being on the internet, especially as a wrestling fan, because as a Jey Uso fan, that is hard to see. And I don't like seeing all that because it made me emotional. It literally made me cry a few nights ago. Because it was just so, and I know he sees this stuff. I know he sees it. And he chooses just not to respond to it. He does, but not in a way where it's like he fires back at them, be like, not a back and forth type thing. No, he stays quiet about a lot of the stuff, and no response to me is the best one and a powerful one at that. So, I know for a fact it gets in his head, but as long as he just keeps carrying on and keeps doing what he's doing and let whatever hate these people have on the internet, just use it as your fuel to keep going. So, I mean, that's usually what I do. I know people. I don't get hated on necessarily because I'm not a celebrity, of course. Not a wrestler, none of that. But it's just only so much that a certain person can take, no matter what age you are, because age shouldn't have anything to do with it at all. Again, mental health still exists and it matters, and he has it too. So, just want to make that important. He's a wrestler. He's a human being. He has feelings. He has emotions, just like the rest of us. So, that's just another thing I wanted to point out, because I just thought it was too much excessive hate going on that night that just kind of made me had to get off the internet my own self. And I'm not even him. So, but yeah, still a Jey Uso fan. It's hard being that sometimes, especially when you have other people hating on him as much as they do. But like I said, no response is the best response, and it is a powerful one at that. Now that we have all those out of the way, Raw after Saturday Night Main Event, which was really just simply Raw, that took place 2 nights ago. And let me just say, the whole show, the start of it was very confusing. But I'm going to talk about the show overall. Raw after Saturday Night Main Event was good. Okay? It was good. Certain parts of it. Not all of it I liked, but it was good. Okay? Now, let me talk about the one thing that I took away from Raw, that the main thing people are talking about. First of all, the beginning of Raw was oddly strange, because we have our new World Heavyweight champion come out and cut a promo thanking the people, thanking his opponent, Jey Uso, at the match he gave him at Saturday Night Main Event. Love that. Who got the naming a list of opponents of who he could possibly face in the future. Guys like AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Dragon Lee, John Cena, maybe John Cena, and we're going to get to John Cena here in a second. Maybe John coming to win an 18th time, because he's now a 17th time as of this April. Most championship wins in history. He got the name and all these very good opponents. But then Logan Paul comes out. And look, I'm not gonna rant about look. Logan Paul is another story for another day, I feel like. But we're gonna have to talk about him here. I'm not gonna drag anybody for filth. Not gonna do that. I'm going to be very careful with what I say here. Now, I, for one, I don't like Logan Paul. whether that be via character or his. I just don't. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyway, Logan Paul comes out and he's basically like, "Oh well, I deserve to be the number one, guy to be the next person to step up to become world heavyweight champion." So no, no, no. Anyway, we're gonna skip past all that part and we're gonna get to the interesting stuff. Because what was interesting to me was when the Vision, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed came out and were pretty much about to attack Logan Paul. What was interesting to me was that Logan Paul actually helped CM Punk. Now, CM Punk is a babyface. Logan Paul is not. Logan Paul has been a heel for literally the first time he even stepped into that WWE ring. Made an entrance, let alone. He has been a heel since then. So, what was interesting to me was that he actually helped a babyface in CM Punk. And it was weird to me because what? He hasn't done anything, remotely as good as far as him being a heel, because he's a bad guy. So, of course, he's not going to do anything good. But he hasn't. I just felt that so strange. And then the ending, which is everything everyone is talking about, the ending had me so confused. When I tell you I was so confused, because remember in the previous episode, guys, I was confused about that one SmackDown. Y'all remember that? I was confused. I was even more confused after Raw on Monday. I'm still confused trying to process it 2 days later. Mind you, it's Wednesday. It's in the morning as I'm recording this. But when I tell you I was confused, because, most people throughout the night, they were under the impression that we were about to get Logan Paul as a possible good guy. But that didn't last long. That didn't last long at all. Because this will lead us to our main event, because we ended up getting CM Punk and Jey Uso. And Jey Uso, for some reason, because the story that they're telling on him right now is basically him. He needed the World Heavyweight Championship. Well, I wouldn't say needed, but he was kind of low-key obsessing over it, I feel like. And he's kind of just in this world where I don't care what any of my family says. I'm kind of just listening to myself right now, which is a good mentality to have, I guess. But I think with him and what they're doing with him, this kind of digresses him in the story a little bit, because I thought for sure that they were going to turn him heel that night. And the reason I say that, they had Paul Heyman, who was with the Vision, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. He's with them, right? And he comes in Jay's locker room. He's basically trying to get in Jay's head to simply join the Vision. That didn't happen. I thought it would have. I mean, it's not too late, but we'll elaborate on that in a later episode. I don't know. I guess I don't know whether that would really mean anything now or not, because with the ending, okay, let's just get back to this ending, because I just feel like with Raw, we're kind of all over the place here, and I'm kind of all over the place just talking about it. But the main event, it's like I said, it's Punk and Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. The match was going good. That is, until it wins in a no contest, and they get counted out at the count of 10, and nobody wins the match. So basically, everybody starts beating everybody up, and then Jay gets taken out with a spear, which leaves Punk by himself momentarily, and he's about to pretty much get jumped and mauled by the Vision. And then next thing you know, Logan Paul comes out there, and I guess, people are assuming he's gonna make the save, because I, for one, didn't buy into, not once buy into that Logan Paul was all of a sudden going to be a good guy. Never bought into that, not once. But apparently, everybody else online did. So I just thought that was very interesting. But anyway, bottom line, you thought Logan Paul was about to help him? No, he did not. He clocked him with a pair of brass knucks. And then not joined the Vision, like officially. But he knocked Punk out and then gave Paul Heyman the brass knuckles. And that was it. They just stared each other down, and that was it. So it's like, what does this mean? Has he officially joined the Vision? Which I, for one, don't think he has. Or is he just simply going to be a part of the team for War Games? And War Games is another thing we're going to get to in this episode. We're going to touch briefly on it, though. Because I believe in another 2 weeks, we'll touch on it then, and it'll be just in time for War Games, I believe. So we'll talk about that then, really. So, aside from that, the start of Raw, it was kind of confusing. The ending of Raw was definitely confusing because it's like, and that's how they end the show. Everybody's laid on the ground, beaten up by the Vision. Meanwhile, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, and Paul Heyman are all standing tall at the end of the show. Now, like I said, does this mean whether Logan joins the Vision? I have not the slightest idea, but I don't think it makes any sense to him, to me, if he does. Because everybody else has seemed to make so much sense of this situation. When it's me who's over here just like, I'm not understanding why it is that you think that way. You know? Everybody's trying to make so much sense of it, and everybody has made sense of it, except for me. Logan Paul hasn't been in WWE because he rarely shows up. He makes his little appearances, he pretty much leaves, and that's it. He has these big marquee matches or whatever, and then he leaves for a little bit, and then comes back. Prime example, Monday Night Raw. He's looking for a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity, apparently, because he feels like he deserves it. But that's whatever for another day. Another thing that I can say we took away from this Raw was John Cena. John Cena announced as a Saturday Night Main Event that he was doing a 16-man tournament to determine who his final opponent will be for December 13th at another edition of Saturday Night Main Event, which will be Cena's very last show, unfortunately. The matches as of now, because it's a 16-man tournament, they have Rusev. This is the first round. The first round of people are Rusev versus Damian Priest, and then there's going to be Sheamus versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I don't know about the first match I just told you, the Rusev and Damian. I don't know if I'm really as excited about that, but Sheamus and Shinsuke, we can do something there, do something there. I'm just kind of glad Sheamus is in it because Sheamus has had a past with Cena. But we could talk about that past all day long. But that's the first round. I know they're going to do the second round. They're going to announce the second round of participants in this tournament on Friday. So can't wait to see who they have there. Because the tournament is going to consist of people from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And another interesting fact, he says it's even going to be from people who don't even work there, which is most likely TNA. I mean, I would have thought AEW probably would have got Edge, but I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. I really want Edge to be seen as last opponent, but hey, in life we don't always get what we want, especially as wrestling fans. So, that's clear. But yeah, I think the 16-man tournament. I know people are already narrowing down who they feel like the final opponent could be, because you have guys like Gunther, maybe Obafemi, maybe Carmelo Hayes, Sheamus. An interesting thing about Sheamus is if they have Cena, going back to Dominic Mysterio here, if they have Cena take the Intercontinental Championship off of Dominic Mysterio and they have him hold it until his very last match, and he possibly loses it to Sheamus, because the Intercontinental Championship is a championship that Cena has never won in his career. He's won every other championship except for that one. So that would make him a Grand Slam if he won the IC Continental Championship this year. Now, what's interesting is if they had Sheamus as Cena's final opponent in December, on December 13th, what would be crazier is if Sheamus were to beat Cena, Sheamus would also become a Grand Slam champion because he's won every title except for the IC title. So that would be, I like the idea of Sheamus versus Cena as, his final match. I like that idea. It's, if you think about it and look at it from that aspect, I really like the idea, and I'm literally enjoying that every time I see it. So makes sense to me. So, yeah, there will be 16 participants. I'm just really interested to see who's going to be Sam's final tournament. Because as long as it's not a Brock Lesnar or anybody, I really don't want Gunther, but I don't know. Hey, it is what it is. I just know whoever it is, I expect nothing less but of a good match. Which brings me to War Games. I'll touch briefly on this because I'll do another episode that because now that's what we're doing too. It's November. It was November 2nd or 3rd when they did Raw because I know it's the 5th today. So excuse me if my dating is off. They're building to War Games now, so that's the whole Logan Paul thing. I feel like I don't think he's officially joined the Vision or anything like that. They're building to War Games now, and so far we haven't really had any confirmations of who's going to be because there's usually a 5 versus 5. So we're going to have 5 members on each team inside 2 cages, and they'll basically be in 2 rings. 2 rings will be put together as well as 2 cages. No, not 2 cages, but it'll be a whole cage that covers both rings, if that makes sense. Yes, it's a big enough cage for that. So, they have women and men's War Games. The women devour every single year. I don't know. I fear the men kind of did their thing last year though. But War Games is going to be interesting because we have an idea of who the possible babyface team could be. You know, you got Cody Rhodes, maybe Jimmy Jay, maybe LA Knight. Who knows? Maybe Cena could add it in that equation. He's never competed in a War Games match, like ever. But I don't even know if that's liable to happen at this point. Because then it's rumored that he's supposed to be doing something with Dominic Mysterio, about the whole Intercontinental Championship thing. So I guess we'll have to see with that. But then now Rey Mysterio, his father, has came into the equation. So it's like, do we get that at Survivor Series War Games instead of John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio for the IC title? I mean, hey, I'm fine with either match, you know? I'm fine. Rey Mysterio versus... I'll take what I can get. I'm fine with it. I'm not complaining there. Both matches are good, you know? I don't know. Do I feel excited as I don't really think so. But I mean, the speculation, of course, of things is it's still there because I still want to know who's going to be on whose team. Like, I'm still for the agenda of Jay turning heel, by the way. I'm so adamant about that because they could have turned him heel Monday night because back with the Punk thing, he all of a sudden wanted to help Punk. Mind you, Punk was his opponent at Saturday Night Main Event, and he beat you. And it's like all of a sudden, you want to help because for weeks you hadn't been helping anybody because Roman has been putting this stuff in your head that because you're helping people, that's the reason you don't have a World Heavyweight Championship, which is not true, by the way. Not true. Not true. Then this is where I say we're digressing in the story because you say all that and you do all this stuff you have been for the past few weeks now, and then once you get back to helping people, you get taken out. Not completely, but you get beat up on. Which is kind of like the you can't beat them, join them theory. I mean, you know, they could easily do that at War Games. Maybe have Jay sell out the babyface team and then he go to the, you know, maybe not necessarily the other side, but he's simply going to do him now. Like he said, he's going to do himself and he doesn't care what anybody else has to say about it. But he's just going to do him. So I think War Games for the most part is really going to be interesting. We are definitely going to touch more back on that because if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at this calendar here. I'll probably do another podcast and another episode in another 2 weeks. Yeah. So by then, we'll definitely be on the way to War Games. So we can talk about War Games more there. And by then, I'm sure because it'll be the 3rd going on the 4th week of November. We'll definitely have some more stuff set up and put in place, and maybe with what I'm talking to you about right now, we'll have much more of an understanding and what's getting set up to happen, because it'll literally be a week before War Games. We'll be more knowledgeable. I'll put it that way. I'll be more knowledgeable as to what's actually going on here, because right now, not the slightest idea. So it leaves me as well as other wrestling fandom and wrestling fans confused. Aside from that, I think that pretty much caps up this episode and what's going on with the current landscape of professional wrestling, because I don't know, it's kind of low. It's kind of low right now. I'm being honest. It's kind of low. There are some good things, to it, and there are also some not so really good things. So I don't know. Sometimes it's a struggle being in this. I don't know. Sometimes it's just, do you even believe? Because I don't know. It's so much I can say. I mean, WWE in 2025 it's been an interesting year, that's for sure. Like I said, there have been good things, there have been bad things, not so good things. There have been a whole lot of things that have just that have just been questionable. Literally looming question marks over your head. And Monday Night Raw was a prime example of that, especially the end of it. The Monday Night Raw show overall, it was a good show. It was a good show. But it was just the start and the ending of it kind of had me just question marks over my head. So by then, 2 weeks' time, I'm sure we'll be more knowledgeable to what is going on here when things play out more. I just hope this is good. I really hope so. Aside from that, I really hope you all enjoyed this episode this morning, this evening, whenever you're listening to it. We'll be doing another episode in another 2 weeks, I believe. That'll pretty much be our final one. And I think we'll cap things off that way. We'll probably go all out in that episode, go out with a bang, good stuff. Aside from that, guys, like I said, hope you enjoyed this episode. I love always talking with you guys about this stuff. I know it may seem like it's all over the place, and I know it's hard for some people to really follow it, and sometimes it's hard for me to follow it, because there's so many things that I could talk about and ramble on all day, and you'll probably get lost, okay? I'm telling you now, because if you're a non-wrestling fan and I'm explaining this to you, you're probably going to get lost, okay? Because there's so much to keep up with, and some of it is kind of so hard to explain. Some of it is so hard to explain. Simply due to the fact that sometimes I don't even know what's going on my own self, and I'm watching the show almost every single week. And some of it is just hard to follow, hard to pick up what someone else is putting down, So it can be a lot, I know. But I want to thank you all for sticking it out with me and, listening. If you're listening, I really do appreciate you guys' feedback, because I know a lot of time on discussion posts, when I post these, I see a lot of good feedback, which I ain't gonna lie. Well, I kind of wasn't expecting that, but I really do appreciate it. The feedback you guys give me, it really encourages me to keep going and keep doing what I'm doing to the best of my ability, to what I know how to do. So I really hope that, this is good enough. I know it's not perfect. Every episode, every podcast, I know it's not perfect. It's not exactly polished equipment in here. Like, I'm literally in a dorm room doing this, and I'm doing it to what I know how to do. But aside from that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this morning's episode of Don't Know What to Talk About. Let's Talk Wrestling with me. I hope you tune in for the next one. I can't wait. Hope you guys have a good rest of the morning. And yeah, I really hope you got mildly distracted. Kind of got an email from a teacher. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, I'll see you again.